The UFC as we know it will never be the same again. Fellas, today is a historic day for the UFC history, and is for one reason alone. UFC's TV deal with ESPN has come to an end, and their negotiation deal solely with ESPN has closed as of today. Now, what does this mean? Let me tell you. This means that the UFC can have discussions and negotiate with any other broadcast channel in the world that they want to. Now, you might be like, Travis, why is this a big deal? Who cares? Different sports organizations go through these different TV deals all the time and nothing really changes. Well, this is particularly important for UFC because of one major big reason and a couple others. And the major reason, I'm not going to hold you guys too long, is pay-per-views. I hate it. You hate it. Your grandma, grandpa, mother, dog, cat, everybody in the world hates pay-per-views. They are now $90 per pay-per-view.
Spare change.
And the UFC has about 13 pay-per-views a year. It's typically one per month, maybe two in June. That comes out to over $1,000 per year if you want to watch every pay-per-view only once a month.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now, the UFC isn't no tennis or golf or any of these super fancy sports. A lot of the UFC fans are blue-collar workers, are younger adults, and it doesn't matter what kind of job you make and what kind of money you make. Paying over $1,000 per year just to watch the UFC fights once a month is a horrible deal no matter how you spin it. And on top of that, if you want to watch the fight nights on ESPN, that's an extra $10 or $12 a month on top of the $1,000 per year you're spending, because that's not enough, right? And the reason why these pay-per-views might be coming to a close is because the main people that UFC is going to be negotiating with, as reports have come out, are Netflix and Amazon. And if you know how Netflix and Amazon Prime Video work, is it's typically just a subscription base. You pay your base rate, which is about 10 or 12 a month, that you'd already be paying for ESPN Plus anyways, just to watch the fight nights, not even the pay-per-views. But on top of that, you would get all of the UFC pay-per-views if they do it the nice way. You know, if they do it a little more where you gotta have a different membership, maybe it's 10 or 20 a month, that is still substantially better than paying $90 a month, some months $180 just to watch the pay-per-view. This is a win for the fighters, this is a win for the consumers, this is a win for everybody involved except ESPN. But the days of paying $90 for a pay-per-view are hopefully over. Now, there is still a chance that the UFC could still sign with ESPN. Dana came out and said that he has nothing bad to say about ESPN, that their relationship was off to a rocky start, but that it's been good ever since, and he has nothing bad to say about that. I probably believe what he's saying, but that's also definitely just a public thing, because you don't want to openly trash your business partners in public, or else who's going to want to do business with you after that? That's just common sense. Reports have even come out as recent as 2-3 weeks ago that the UFC and ESPN are not on good terms right now, and they will not be partners again. The UFC didn't like how ESPN was doing their broadcast and the issues they had. If you guys remember UFC 313, where nobody could buy the pay-per-view in the United States, it was literally impossible to buy a pay-per-view. That's a pretty big problem when pay-per-views bring in a bulk amount of your money being the UFC. And then ESPN apparently wasn't happy with the UFC's numbers coming in. Well, a lot of people probably don't buy the pay-per-views because they're $90 a month, you know. I know that there's a lot of people out there that just watch a stream online for free or figure out some way to watch it because they can't justify spending $90 a month to watch a pay-per-view. Especially when a lot of the pay-per-view cards have been as bad as they have been lately. You just can't justify spending $90 to watch Bilal fight JDM, or to watch Strickland fight Dricus du Plessis, and then every other fight on the card not be a fight that you care about. Now, another pro in going to Netflix besides just saving money on the fights is that we get something new. You know, it's always good to change. You don't want to change something up all the time, but whenever you introduce some change, assuming it's decent change, it keeps the game good. You could even introduce some bad change. If you look at a game like Fortnite, they have bad updates, but because they update it so often, the game stays relevant and stays interesting to the viewers. Now, another benefit, not for the viewers, but this is for other people per se, is the fighters. It's been long known that the UFC fighters are underpaid. Everyone thinks that Dana underpays them. It's just what it is. It's how it is. However, the deal that the UFC is looking for is going to be $1 billion per year. This has come out of multiple reports. Dana's kind of tried to dodge it, but he's never out front declined it, and he's probably going to get every penny of that. The UFC is a growing sport, and it's one of these sports where if your sport is event-based, like a NFL or a UFC is, your sport does really well on ratings versus an NBA or NHL. We see the NBA and NHL tanking in viewers lately because nobody wants to watch 82 games a year. Same with the MLB. That's just too many games that people don't have the time to tune in for all the time. But if there's a big UFC card once a month, you know that you're going to be watching that card no matter what, and that the viewers are always going to be there. You know, my girlfriend has no interest in the UFC at all, but she knows if it's a cool card once a month, then I'm gonna be off limits that night, and she might even join me and watch the fights. But anyways, back to my point here. With the UFC getting $1 billion per year, they really should be able to pay their fighters more than they could pay them right now. You know, fighter pay can be a whole separate topic for a separate video, but we all know that they're underpaid, and pulling in $1 billion per year just from a broadcast deal, you should be able to give the fighters some more money. And another reason why it will be cool to move on from ESPN, maybe to an Amazon Prime Video or Netflix, is that Dana White said that a lot of the way that they structure their schedule is based off what the providers and the broadcast partners want. So maybe, just maybe, we could do away with the Apex cards. If Netflix is like, we're gonna give you $1 billion a year, UFC, but we don't want these crappy cards in the Apex, you think the UFC is gonna say no? We're not taking $1 billion a year because we want to fight in the Apex. You know, Dana White might have some funny ideas sometimes, but there's no way that he's going to turn down that deal. And that is going to be great for the fighters, the fans, the viewers, because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes the Apex cards. The fighters work all year just to fight in this undercrowded arena with weird silences. It's just not a good experience for the viewers or the fighters, and they deserve a lot better. And so far, I've only mentioned the pros of this deal. Here are some potential cons, and there's really not many. The main con that comes to mind is that not everybody has a Netflix membership. Yeah, you're limited in it to Netflix memberships. I would say a lot of you UFC fans out there already have a Netflix membership, or you probably know someone you could borrow. But even if that's not the case, you could just get a Netflix membership to watch the fights and still be saving money because you won't be paying for these way more expensive pay-per-views. There's no way the Netflix membership will cost as much as the pay-per-views cost. And on top of just being able to watch the fights, you could watch all the Netflix TV shows and movies, and they even have games now, so it's a win situation for everybody. And the other potential con is the lag involved. A lot of people are going to say, oh, but the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight happened this year. It was so laggy, it was unwatchable, and that is true. That is a big problem that Netflix has, but Netflix makes how many millions, billions of dollars every year? It is definitely a problem that they're able to address in 2025. Any streaming-related problem gets fixed. You don't see big companies out here with streaming lag issues these days. I was one of the thankful ones who didn't have to deal with lag for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. You know, we were up in the casino making millions, and they actually had a way to get the fights on with no lag or anything at all, so I got to watch that boring fight completely lag-free. But anyways, that is the massive news for the UFC. Negotiations were said to have started with Amazon and Netflix right away today. So we're going to monitor this news and see what comes in the coming weeks and days. But if you like this video and want to stay up to date on all the UFC news, be sure to drop a sub and a like, because I'll be posting great UFC content multiple times a week, and we're growing a great community here. So if that's something you're interested in, an up-and-coming MMA channel and want to support, you could hit that sub button. It's always appreciated and it's free. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Deuces.